Welcome back. And today we are discussing about the unit from Unit 1, Artificial Intelligence Expert System. Another chapter called Artificial Intelligence Expert System. So let's see before we move on to the current chapter. Let me see what we are. Before we move on to our present topic, we need to recap that what was we are discussed in our previous class. So in our earlier classes, we discussed about artificial intelligence, types of artificial agent, and then in previously we discussed about NLP, that means natural language processing. So in natural language processing, how the two types of input, that means speech and then written text, how it is being recognized by the PC, and what are the components and terminologies in NLP, natural language processing. For example, in natural language understanding and natural language generation. And we are discussed about where the natural language processing which is being applied and where it is being used in a real time, and some of the applications of artificial intelligence which we have discussed. For example, in earlier we discussed about how it is being in terms of email composing, how it is being personal assistant, voice based assistant, like how the Siri voice command which is we are going to be on Amazon, Alexa, Cortana, or some other voice based assistant much more helpful in terms of text level translation, and how it is being conversions are occur in natural language processing. So automatic in terms of email composing, spelling correction, grammar correction, phrases and meaningful sentences conversions, everything which we are discussed in natural language processing with some of the application. For example, Google Translate and Sign All, and then some of the few application much more useful in day-to-day life, and some of the application which we are discussed in natural language processing in terms of email communications, and then answering questions of in terms of banking sector, in terms of finance sector, how it is being much more useful in it, and how it is we are going to day-to-day life it is being used in it, how we are going to utilize in that. So that are very important in terms of natural language processing conversion. And today's objective, that means today topic, we are going to discuss about the expert systems in artificial intelligence, how the expert system much more useful in day-to-day life, and how it is being giving suggestion to the users, those who are going to utilize that, how the expert system going to learn, and how it is going to upgrading, and how it is going to respond. So all the aspects we are going to discuss about today's chapter called expert system. Let's move on to the topic. So in expert systems is one of the prominent research domain of artificial intelligence, and it is introduced by the researcher at Stanford University Computer Science Department. So which is that first process which is being started in expert system. So let me say that see that what are expert systems and what are expert systems. So the expert systems are computer applications. So expert systems are computer applications developed to solve complex problems. So when the primary concern and primary importance of the expert system which we are created as an application to solve in terms of solve a complex problems in particular domain. So at the level of extraordinary human intelligence and expertise, when sometimes human cannot able to analyze the vast amount of data, can able to predict or give the particular solution in terms of a number of solutions or a number of comparison we have to make, human it will take lot of time to give a solution for the particular problem set. In case of expert system, it will compare and analyze the large amount of data to give a exact solution what the customer, and give that particular solution to the problem statement. So what are the characteristics of expert systems? So in characteristics of the expert system, first one is the high performance is a primary concern when we are building an expert system, and understandable. Something much more understandable. Without the understanding we will not able to implement it. User level satisfaction will not be or will not be there. So understandable, it much more, that is one of the primary concern of understandable, and more reliable, which is more important than when we are able to usage and multi environment, that is reliability is much more important in that. So reliable source we can able to expand in furthermore implementation, upgradation and everything, and highly responsive. So that is also one of the characteristics you can able to request and responses. When we are creating and implementing and understandable, nothing more than when we are getting a problem or issues persist, when so we have to give the solution for the particular problem also. So in that case, highly responsive will much more important characteristics in expert system. Let's see capabilities of expert system. What are the capabilities of expert system? So the expert system much more capable of advising. So advising in the sense, what is the purpose we are going for expert system? It has to give the better and betterment of the solution or advising to the user for taking the choices, better choices and better solution for a particular problem. And another expert is capability, it should instructing and assisting human in terms of decision making. When we are not able to take a decision for the particular instructions or a particular problem set, so in that case we will depend on the expert system to instruct us, to assist us for a human in terms of decision making environment. And another way, the product or a particular process not able to handle by the human or not able to understand, in that case the system, expert system, going to demonstrating that how it will be done, how it can going to be completed. So demonstrating, which is a primary in concern about expert system, it's more understanding to the human to evolve and involve in the particular task or particular work, and deriving a solution. When we are giving solution to the particular problem, the same will be given by the expert system. Changeover will be time constraints and then cost constraint when series of data need to be analyzed, but we will get much more easiest way in expert system. And diagnosing, when human can getting confused or getting problem cannot able to answer that, but system or a machine expert system which you are preparing for, it has to be diagnosing that issues or problems and troubleshoot debugging itself, then we can able to so get it the issues resolved in easiest manner. And explaining, when we are getting the particular problem or issues, should be explaining the, it have an expert system going to explain the particular problem in detailed manner. And interpreting the input, what we are going to giving the input, based on that it is the expert system going to give the result or a particular output for the problem statement. And predicting the result, when in terms of weather forecasting, in terms of tax or in terms of automatic prediction status and predicting the result in terms of Sensex in the NSE or market, share marketing, how we are going to predict that, how we are going to invest that. So this kind of prediction we have to analyze a vast amount of data, then will give the accuracy in the result. So expert system will give you the suggestion for the result, so predicting the particular issues in that. And it will justifying the conclusion, will be made that suggesting that when we are making some solution or conclusion, when in terms of routing problem or alternate options to that, so it has to suggesting that alternating options for the particular, even though the same have for example in terms of uncertainty, there are two possible solution for a one question. So in that case the uncertainty situation will be occur, how we will be overcome that, in this sense so alternating option will overcome that, we can overcome and easily expertise in the system management process. And another, so how the expert systems they are capable of, so sometimes it is substituting the human decision makers, when we no need to involvement in terms of decision making or outcome of if anything, then possessing the human capability, how we are going to possessing the human capability to represent and to reproduce in it, and it will producing the accurate output for inadequate knowledge base. Sometimes it will produce that accurate result for the sometimes knowledge base we have a required data is that can able to answer in that. And another thing about expert system, learning skills, when new past experience, how it is human going to nature, when we are learned about the particular process, then we are learning, then we are upgrading. So the same ways the expert system redefining themselves when the new or updating in the previous process, so redefining the own knowledge database. So another thing, what are the components in expert system? When we are seeing some representation, visual representation, how it is being connected, how it is being much more useful in it, how we are going to represent in it, and how we are going to involve in it, what is the connection with what, and how it is being respond to our queries. So that is a way the component in expert system include knowledge base, inference engine, and user interfaces. So in these three, and we are going to represent, this is a primary part of the this diagram represent the knowledge representation. So what this diagram tells, let us see the one by one briefly. So there is one human expert, and another end there is one user may not be an expert on it. So when I'm going to buy something in online, or I'm going to unaware about some of the site I'm referring, I don't know what to do, what was the step, that's why every process or every installation, or taking any example, when we are buying or going to the particular site, they are giving help desk, or when we are going to the banking sector, then it will come there what you want to apply for a new application form or a new registration, internet banking registration, banking statement. So predefined queries will help you much more to overcome that. So but in the expert system, for example, user getting that the human expert which you are going to that, and then knowledge engineer which have a sharing the number of information gathered together, going to give a suggestion to that based on the knowledge base which is already available. The inference engine both together making the activity referring that user request and responses to the user interface. When user going to respond something, when the user interface based on that human expert or a knowledge engineer based on the knowledge base which you are going to responses which your user expert may not giving the suggestion or to the by the expert system. So this is a diagrammatical representation for a expert system, and then how the human user may not be an expert in that, how we are going to get and response to the activity, and how we are getting clarified in the particular problem statement. So knowledge base, let me see one by one in the diagram representation what is mean by knowledge base, what are the contains, what it contains, and how it we are going to utilize in it. In knowledge base, it contains a domain specific and highly quality knowledge you can able to involve in it. And knowledge is required to exhibit the intelligence. When we want to give a particular intelligence to express that outcome of the particular problem, so the success of any expert system so majorly depends upon the collection of highly accurate and precise knowledge. This is a primary concern about expert system. How it is expert system will give you n number of outcome or n number of solution or exact solution, accurate solution to the particular problem based on the prediction of available data set. So that is a primary concern about available data set. When without that we cannot able to do or accurate in the precise in the processing. So this is another concern we can able to make it in that. So what is knowledge? So knowledge, as long we talking about data, is a collection of fact and the information is organized as a data and fact about the task domain. For example, knowledge is a representation collection of data set or data information or a previous experience, past experience combined together in terms of knowledge. So this is a collective of information, so you can say that data collection in terms of computer term, and then past experiences which you can able to build a better system, better expert system, and better outcome of the particular problem in it. So this is a primary concern about the knowledge base and knowledge. In this slide we are discussed about knowledge base and then discuss about knowledge. So this is how we are going to explain giving the accurate result in that, and how we are going to make the knowledge in terms of creation in the data information and past experiences. And then components of the knowledge base. What are the components, how we are going to achieve in that particular expert system knowledge base? So for example, the knowledge base in expert system is stored on both factual and heuristic knowledge. So what is mean by factual in this sense? Factual knowledge, it is a information widely accepted by the knowledge engineers and scholars in the particular task domain. So something the expert system suggests or represent to answer that queries, how it is being sure that we can take that we can take as it is to particular problem to take the solution. So this is the non-factual. They are differentiating that to store a knowledge base in terms of factual knowledge, and then another is a heuristic knowledge. It is about practice, accurate judgment, and one's ability of the evaluation and guessing. So heuristic knowledge is all about the practice, accurate judgments, as well as ability of evaluation and guessing process, which comes under the heuristic knowledge process. And knowledge representation. So another aspect is that knowledge is representation in branching factor. So branching and looping, what we will do in this, and condition rule. So here in the method to knowledge in the knowledge base in the form of if then else rules. So what the if then else rules is, if condition is true, it will print that, or condition else it is false to that, then it will go to the else part for executing the printing the another task or another function for the particular task in it. So in the knowledge representation, we are using a branching and looping. That means if then else condition rules to apply that, compare that. If rule satisfy that, then it will go to that condition corresponding, or else it will go to the another condition to that. So that's here components: factual knowledge, heuristic knowledge, and then knowledge representation, which we are discussed. So another representation is knowledge acquisition. So knowledge acquisition, the success of the expert system majorly depends on the quality, completeness, and accuracy of the information stored in the knowledge base. As we discussed, when we are getting that exact accurate result or a solution of success rate, it is definitely depend on the quality, completeness, and accuracy of the information which is stored in the knowledge base. That is only we are retrieved from the knowledge base for particular answer. So the knowledge base is formed by reading that from various experts, scholars, and knowledge engineers. So the knowledge engineer is a person with the qualities of empathy, quick learning, and case analyzing skill, able to answer the complex problems. So what he acquires the information from the subject expert by recording, interviewing, and observing him at work, etc. Hence he then categorizes and organizes the information in meaningful way. So the categorization and organization is the primary concern is about the information to identify that exactly what it was. So in the way the form of if then else rules which is being used to interference missions. So the knowledge engineer also monitor and development of the experts. So the knowledge engineer primary which is also the monitoring the development of the expert systems in terms of knowledge acquisition. So in the knowledge acquisition, knowledge is a primary concern in terms of person with the equalities and skills, and then quick learning and case analyzing skills. It's a primary concern about knowledge acquisition process. Another representation in expert system is inference engines. How you are going to interpret, or how you are going to involve in one system to another system, one process to another process. So in inference engine uses the efficient procedure and rules by the inference engines. So it is essential in detecting the to correct and flawless solutions, to get a corrections and flawless solution for the particular problem. And in case of knowledge based is the expert system, so the inference engines acquires and manipulates the knowledge from the knowledge base. So it will arrive at a particular solution then. So what is in case of rule based expert systems? So how we can able to do it in that? So applies the rules repeatedly to the fact which are obtained from earlier rule application which is being persisted, and adds a new knowledge into the knowledge base if required. Sometimes the knowledge base or expert system required to upgrade that in terms of recent changes in any, so we need to upgrade that so that we can able to answer that expected in that. So resolves the rules that which are conflict when multiple rules are applicable to a particular case. So sometimes it will resolve the rule which you are getting conflicted in that, and as well as the multiple rules which is being applicable in a particular case scenarios. So what is the recommend solution for the inference engine? So what is the recommend solution for the inference engine in the following strategies are? So one is a forward chaining, another one is a backward chaining. These are the recommended solution in terms of inference engine in artificial intelligence. So let's see forward chaining. So in forward chaining, so strategy in expert system to answer the question. So what can happen next? So when we are raising the question to inference engine, follow to the chain and then condition and then derivation. So finally deduces the outcome of that. So it is considered all the facts and rules to short them before concluding the solution. So we have a multiple solution, but we can able to took one decision for the outcome of a number of queries. So here the strategy is followed for working in a conclusions, result or effect. For example, predictions of the share market status as the effect of changes in interest rates. So these are primary concerns how the forward chaining which is being represented. So look at that example diagrammatical representation. There are fact 1 and fact 2 which is related to the operation, forward directed cyclic graph representation, and then fact 3 and 4 again the forward directed cyclic graph with the OR operation. Either these are done between one decision which is being finalized, that or these are that situation or situation being one decision too. So here in that there is no OR operation here, but we have to predict. So here we are using AND operation to predict the new decision here. So this is the forward chaining process which can able to predict forward arrow mark direction, which is represented in then what can happen in the next. You can able to answer in that fact and rules how we are going to sort out the particular problem to conclude the solution to the artificial intelligence by expert systems. So in backward chaining, so with the strategies in terms of expert system, find out the answers to the question. So we have to find out the, so why this is, what happened in the previous and in after happening that outcome, so why this happened. So in the backward chaining after resulting which we are getting in that, so on the basis of what has already happened, the inference engines try to find out that which conditions would have happened in the past for this result. This result which is being received, so why it is happened. So we have to analyze that in the backward chaining. So that is strategy is followed for finding out the cause of the reason, cause or reason for the backward chaining. For example, diagnosis of blood cancer in humans. So this example application how we are going to do that. Sometimes we will get the result in the positive or negative. So again we will do the analysis, again we will redo the test again for getting the betterment of the result in this. So this representation you can see this, it is a reverse process. Why this is happening after the addition 4 happened, then it is revert back to that under operation, again it is revert back to 2 positions and under OR operation, then again going back to the original origin of the backward processing, backward chaining, which is how it is being occur, why it is being occur, that representation which is being there in the data set in terms of backward chaining connectivity. So in the next, user interfaces in knowledge representation. So in user interfaces provide the interaction between the user and expert system in expert system itself. So in generally NLP is a so far that used for a user who will well versed in the task in terms of domain. So the user of the expert system need not to necessary to expert in artificial intelligence to answer some query. So it explains that how expert systems arrived in a particular recommendation. So you can see this natural language displayed on screen and verbal narrations in natural language and listing of rule numbers displayed on the screen. So what it will do in this sense, the user interface makes it easy to trace creditability and deduction in terms of particular problem set using the user interfaces. So again once again recapping that user interfaces, we can able to well task and then user interface expert, there is not necessary in that expert system artificial intelligence, and natural language displaying on screen and then verbal narration on natural language and listing that rule numbers in displayed on the screen to identify that easy to trace and creditability of the deductions which you can able to in user interfaces. Next, requirements of efficient user in expert system user interface. What is the requirement, how we can able to create an expert efficient expert system in terms of user interfaces in this sense. So it should help users to accomplish their goal in shortest possible way. So expert system which will much more helpful in terms of to accomplish the goals of the shortest possible ways. And another is that it should be designated to work for the user existing or desired work practices. When we can able to make that outcome of that either existing or a desired practice which can able to get the outcome of it. And then it is a strategy technology which should be adaptable to the user requirement, not other way around we can able to adapt or we can able to create a user requirement in it. And it should be more efficient, make efficient to use that as a user input. So you can say the expert system which is much more efficient in terms of user interface representation. So these are the requirements, how much make that efficient requirements, and then how we can able to comply the particular goal in shortest possible, how we are going to get the desired work output and practices, and how we are going to able to adequate that user requirements and more efficient way from the user input representation. Let me look at the applications of expert domains. So in terms of expert definition, representation and diagram, everything, let's see where it is being applications, which is being in experts. In terms of designing and manufacturing domain, it can be broadly used in designing and manufacturing a physical devices such as camera lenses and automobiles. So designing, manufacturing design, so which is much more unique, and then more work which is need to get in terms of automobile industry, and then camera lenses. So another way in the knowledge domain. So these systems are primarily used for publishing the relevant knowledge to the users to the popular expert systems. So the user to is the domain is an advisor, and the tax advisor we can able to get the knowledge domain, can able to answer the particular query in it. So another thing is a finance domain. The finance industry, it is used to detect any type of possible frauds, suspicious activity, and then advise bankers that if they should provide loans for business or not. So this is another way representation for expert system. So in another applications domain for expert system in the diagnosis and troubleshooting of devices. So in terms of medical diagnosis, expert system is much more used at the first area where the systems were which is being much more used and utilized in it, and planning and scheduling process. So in terms of expert systems can also used in planning and scheduling for some particular task for achieving the goal of the particular task in terms of planning and scheduling cases. So when we are taking to that diagnosis or a surgery or a medical alert system, medical suggestion system, etc., much more useful in terms of the in diagnosis field, and planning and scheduling, which we can able to schedule something, can able to achieve something in that easiest way in terms of expert system. And what are the limitations of expert system? How we can able to limitations of the expert system? So this response of the expert system may get wrong sometimes. The knowledge base containing the wrong information. When the information is wrong, then the outcome of the information is completely wrong. So we should be very much ensure that it is correct or not. So like human being cannot produce a creative output in different scenarios. We cannot able to predict, machine experts cannot predict the different scenarios and different outcome on it. In all previous representation about expert system, diagrammatical representation, knowledge base, knowledge source, how it is being converted to the responses, and each and every aspects, how it is being used and how we are going to implement it in it, and each and every spaces how we are going to implement it, and much more difficulties of the expert system, much complexity in it, how we are going to evaluate it in that, and how we are going to analyze in that. So that's all that expert system representation, which we are much more discussed of the much more complexity and how we knowledge base and knowledge sources which is being used in it. But when look at that, if we want to implement an expert system, and expert maintenance is and the development costs which are much more high in terms of implementation. So imagine that if you want to build a very biggest export system for suggestion, so it is maintenance and development costs which are very high in nature. So another is that knowledge acquisition process. So knowledge acquisition for designing is much difficult in it, which we can able to acquiring that it is implementation, and then much more complexity in it. So it is more difficult in nature, and for each domain it is required to specific expert system, which is one of the big limitation. We will not able to gone through that. And another thing is that when expert system cannot learn from the itself, since the manual updates which is being much more required when we want to implement it in the particular creation of expert system. So that's all about that expert system creation. So these are the references. Ellen Ridge and Kevin, artificial macrohelp applications, Howard Nussel, Peter Norvig, artificial model approach, and then you have any web references if you want to refer Other than that, you have can study in the other references also, non-online resources available. And this, and thank you for this chapter representation. Thank you.